once I start talking, I'm not going to quit. But growing up here was an incredible place to grow up. As Gail said, there was no hidden valley. County Valley, where our ranch is, had 9 families in it. That was it. And there was farmer line phone, and the old phones, we did not have dial phones here until 1957. So you crank, they cranked with the operator, and the operator was idle animals. I mean, like, I want to talk to Mrs. Jones, and she said, oh, she's going to Calistoga, she'll know until 5. So call back then, because she knew everything about everybody, and that's where that was the best information that you could get. And in Coyote Valley, the farmer line we had, it was, my dad was the secretary of it. That meant he collected $20 a year from all of the 9 families, and we maintained the lines as good as we could. But if something serious happened, Lamar Reynolds had to come out and fix it. And my family came here in 1943. There was no electricity on the ranch. My mom was raised in Alexander Valley, Heights Valley. My dad in Santa Rosa. They grew up with electricity. But when they came here, that was in 1943, there was no electricity on the ranch. And I have a copy of the right-of-way from PG&E from 1947, when they had the right-of-way and they put electricity in 1948. And I'm kind of glad that they did. Having growing up here, Norm Evans was my first basketball coach when I think I was 8 years old. He had youth basketball, there was a bunch of us. And he taught us about playing, but we didn't know anything. And he's one of the guys that taught us how to play sports and how to play basketball. And we had scouts. We had, I was in Cub Scouts. I don't know if they were the first Cub Scout troop, but in 1961, I think that was the first Middletown Days parade. We as Cub Scouts marched in the parade. And my grandparents lived right close to where the mansion is now. There was a ranch house there, and they lived there. And I walked from there to town in my Cub Scout uniform, marched in the parade. I wouldn't dare walk on that road now. And then I had the opportunity to be in Boy Scouts. And we met over at what now is the Gibson Museum. And we'd meet there, I think it was every Wednesday night. And of course, in the wintertime, that place was really, really cold. And it was heated with a wood stove. And we'd get there as Boy Scouts and we'd build a fire. Fortunately, we never did burn the place down. But had an old Ashley heater, and we'd get that thing going, and it'd kind of glow red, and it worked really, really well. So I think in 1964, we had a scoutmaster. Lamar Reynolds was our first scoutmaster, and there was a gentleman named Bill Adams, lived up on Cobb. He was a retired Army major. He became one of our scoutmasters, and he decided it would be good for us as a Boy Scout troop to be an exhibit at the county fair, the Lake Fork Fair. And we were. We hiked from Middletown to Lake Fork. It took us 3 days. We left from the school in Middletown, and we went up to his ranch on Cobb the first night. No adults were with us. We just did it on our own. And he checked on us. And then the next day we went to somewhere down by Kelseyville on Kelsey Creek, and then we hiked to Lake Fork. We were an exhibit in the fair. It was kind of interesting. I don't know what kind of an exhibit we were, but we were. And we're talking about the school. The first school that we met that we went to school in was right behind one of the apartments that burned down. I don't remember. Do you remember the name of that school we started in? It was in Canada. Canada was built in 58. It was just Middletown Elementary. It's a beautiful old building. And after Mini Cannon was built in 1958, it's a brand new school. That was in the 3rd grade. It would have been in the 2nd grade. We started there. And in 1963, a new high school was built. The old high school was built in 1919. And they built a new one in 1963, and they should have left the old one, but it was beautiful. And but they didn't. And so we had several new schools that we went to. In high school, yes, It was right where the new one, where, I call it, right where the existing one is. So the existing one was torn down, and for many months, all the high school classes were held in the gymnasium, which itself was built in 1952. Prior to that, basketball was played in the, where the art center is now, the Middletown Art Center. And it was so low that they would shoot baskets over the rafters to get there. Wally Hutterson told me he played basketball there. I didn't. Yeah.
Alan Johnson played basketball there, and he said it was half court. So when you switch possessions, then the same basket was for the opposing team.
Yeah, you just play half court basketball, just turn it over. So Alan played there, and I'm not sure who else did. A lot of people did. But it was, growing up in Middletown was a special experience. Everybody knew everybody. And everybody knew what you did. You did something you shouldn't. The information about it beat you home. So it did kind of help keep us somewhat on the straight and narrow. When I was a teenager, the deputy sheriff here was Colleen's brother.
Wow.
Glenn Perkins. And he was really good to us kids. We were doing something we shouldn't, and he just looked at you, turn and say, go home. And he didn't object too much to me getting married to his sisters. I must not be too bad. He didn't say anything to you about not doing it. Good, I'm glad. I'm very glad. But there was no hidden valley. They said there were just 9 families in Coyote Valley. And it was a very special place to grow up. Now, an awful lot of us grew up, one of the things that we always did, we were deer hunters. And, you know, probably in first or second grade, you start learning something about math, about what 1 + 1 = 2. Well, as young men growing up here, from early August to late September, we never learned how to count to 2. Because you only had 2 tags, but we never learned how to count them. There were a lot of deer around here. I think Bobby would remember that. And Ken McNamara would remember that. Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, you know, it was very, very common when you came to school. You had a rifle in the back of your truck or your car because you might see a deer and shoot it under a and you might see that. It was not uncommon. I get it. And we didn't even lock our vehicles into school. There was never an issue. As you know, things have changed. Some obviously not for the better. The buses, when I think we only had 2, maybe 3 buses at the school, and they were all very, very old. One was an old International, and it had the lights on the fenders. It was that old. And the bus driver, a very nice gentleman, he did not know how to shift gears. So going up a hill, we would just kind of lurch along until we get up there and then go a little faster down the hill. Now, Colleen used to ride the bus, and she was very upset because they had to come clear out to our radio. And they were way out on the other side of town. She did not like having to ride that bus that far. And I didn't ride the bus very much because I always played sports and things like that. But she did, and didn't really like it that much. So, not gonna comment. Like that? Oh yeah, they drive right by the school when they let them off. But they had to keep going. But wow. I think they still do that today.
Thank you.
I'm just going to share a little bit about Grange Road, having grown up out there. Because my parents came in 1942. Grange Road was a dirt road. And there's a hill going over it that goes into our ranch. And it's called Doe Hill. And in the wintertime, it's pretty steep. In the wintertime, before they paved it, it was really interesting to go up and over it. There's a county road, and Everett Parrott, Gino Parrott's grandfather or great-grandfather, ran a grader for the county, and he would grade the road. And then he only graded right on down into our ranch. And when they paved it, the county didn't have much money. They don't I don't know if they do or don't now. But there was no road base put down, so it just got paved over the dirt that was there. So that's why it's kind of the pothole capital of Lake County. It's better than it was, but dirt road was very, very interesting at the time. Our ranch, we're fortunate that my dad and mom came there in 1943, and we're still there. It is the largest remaining parcel that's owned by a family from the Gwinnett Ranch. So we're
Wow.
Gwinnett land grant, and we worked really dang hard to stay there, and we're still there. If anybody thinks it's 1,700 acres of brush, rocks, and rattlesnakes, and a few cows, but it's not easy to hang on to. But we're 7 generations of people in ag in California, 4 generations on that ranch. And dang it, I'm 75 and I'm not going anywhere, and my kids and grandkids still want to be there, and so we're doing whatever it takes to still hang on to it. And believe me, it's not easy, but it's worth it. I've talked enough. Anybody have any questions that I may or may not answer? Anybody have something? Thank you. It's a very fun opportunity to share things about growing up in Middletown, and to see an old friend, Ken McNamara. Ken, it's good to see you.